I used to think lies had a lifespan, that eventually something in reality would correct them. A transcript, a phone call, a person asking the right question at the right time. But some lies don't expire. They just settle in and get comfortable. Mine arrived casually like secondhand information. My sister told them I'd dropped out. Not dramatically, not in a fight, just said it with enough confidence, apparently, that no one thought to verify. I found out weeks later during a call that felt strangely formal. My father didn't ask how classes were going. He asked what my plan was, now. I remember pausing, not because I didn't understand, but because I did. And in that moment, something in me chose silence. Not forever, just for then. I told myself I'd fix it later, that I'd show them instead. That truth, eventually, would be loud with an explanation. It didn't work like that. Support stopped first, quietly. My tuition gap widened overnight. My mother's messages became careful, like she was speaking to someone fragile or disappointing. My sister didn't call at all. I stayed. That part is important. There wasn't a dramatic turning point where I almost quit and then didn't. I just continued, took loans I hadn't planned on, picked up shifts that didn't leave room for anger. Medical school doesn't slow down for family misunderstandings, so I adapted. And over time, something shifted. Not in them, but in me. I stopped composing explanations in my head, stopped imagining the conversation where everything would click back into place. Because the longer it went on, the less it felt like a misunderstanding, and more like a decision they'd made about me. Residency came and went the same way. There were moments I thought about reaching out, sending proof. An email, a photo in scrubs with a caption that said, "You were wrong." But every time, it felt smaller than what had already happened. Not correcting them became its own kind of boundary. They didn't come to my graduation. I told people they lived far away, that travel was complicated, that we'd celebrate later. We didn't. They didn't come to my wedding either. That one settled differently. Not sharp, not fresh, just confirmed. There's a kind of absence that stops hurting and starts structuring your expectations. After that, I stopped thinking in terms of reconciliation. I had a life, a demanding one, a precise one. Patients didn't care who believed in me 5 years ago. They cared if I showed up correctly now. Last month, I was halfway through a shift when I saw her name. Not my sister's first, my last. It's not common. I almost ignored it. But something habit maybe made me open the chart. Female, late 20s, acute presentation, admitted through ER. Same age range, same last name. Still, that doesn't mean anything, until it does. I didn't rush. That's the part people might misunderstand. I didn't feel a surge of anything cinematic. No anger, no anticipation, just a quiet awareness that something had aligned. I checked the notes, labs, imaging. Then I walked. The room was already occupied. My parents stood on either side of the bed, smaller than I remembered them. Time does that unevenly. My sister looked human in a way I hadn't allowed myself to picture, not the version I'd held on to. Not the one who had said something careless and life-altering. Just someone unwell. My mother turned first. There's a specific kind of recognition that doesn't go through language. Her hand found my father's arm before anything else happened, and she held it, hard enough that I saw his sleeve shift under her grip, hard enough that it meant something physical. No one said my name. They didn't need to. It was already there in the badge, in the chart, in the way the nurse stepped slightly aside to give me space. Authority doesn't announce itself. It just rearranges the room. I introduce myself the same way I would to anyone. Clear, neutral, precise. I explained the condition, the treatment plan, the risks. My voice didn't change, not because I was trying to prove something, but because there was nothing left to prove. This was the work. My father tried to speak once, stopped halfway through. My mother didn't let go of his arm. My sister looked at me like she was searching for a version of me she recognized. I didn't offer one. There's a moment in situations like that where people expect a shift, a confrontation, a line that ties everything together. It didn't come, because the truth had already done its job, quietly, over years, without needing permission. I finished the explanation, asked if they had questions. They didn't. Or maybe they did, just not the kind that fit inside that room. As I turned to leave, my mother finally spoke. Not loudly, not even fully formed. Just the beginning of something. I paused, not long enough to invite it forward, just long enough to acknowledge it existed. Then I left. Later, I checked on the case like I would any other. Adjustments, notes, follow-ups. Professional. Complete. I don't know if they told anyone. If the story changed. If the version of me they carried for 5 years collapsed all at once or slowly reshaped itself into something else, it's not something I need to track. I used to think being believed was the same as being seen. It's not. Being seen doesn't require agreement. It just requires time and the kind of work that doesn't argue back. There wasn't an apology. Not then. Maybe there will be. Maybe there won't. For the first time, it didn't feel like something missing. Just something separate. And that was enough.